Hey, gorgeous souls. I hope you're having a great day. And I notice that there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. And I just wanted to do this quick video on a few things that you can do immediately if you find that you or a loved one is experiencing a crisis, or perhaps you've recently been through a fairly major event in your life. And of course, a crisis can be deemed as many, many different things. It could be a relationship breakdown, it could be financial stress, it could be a health issue that you've just discovered, or that you've, has been a long-term thing for you as well. So any of these things, plus obviously, a huge amount of different life events can certainly be deemed as a crisis or a point of real stress in your life. Now, the first thing to do is make sure that you're immediately safe. And obviously, if you're sitting here watching Facebook, I'm assuming that would already be the case. You want to really start to do some deep breathing. What this does is it really starts to help. It's the biggest way that we can actually consciously start to calm the nervous system. Often, obviously, in a huge crisis, a lot of adrenaline is running through our body, and this makes it hard to sleep, it makes it hard to function, and makes it really hard to think clearly. When we're going through a crisis, or when a loved one is going through a crisis, that is going to be one of the most important factors in being able to move through that crisis. And take the best care of yourself possible, as well as those around you. So breathing deeply starts to switch the nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight-flight state, back to the parasympathetic. So that is the first thing that you can do that can really start to help to calm the mind to think more rationally. Now, of course, you're going to want to take care of anything immediately that needs to be taken care of, whether that's obviously ringing an ambulance, or and I'm obviously speaking in other different things, but looking for anything that you need to act on, anybody that you need to contact immediately, obviously doing those things. Now, the other things, and please say hello if you're jumping on here. I can't see who's jumping on. I don't know why Facebook does that to me sometimes, or maybe it's just the user, as in me, obviously. So really, number one, doing your breathing. Number two, contacting anybody that you need to. Now, the other things that around all of this that you're going to want to do, often when we're going through a crisis, hey Pete, great to have you on. Often when we're going through a crisis, we resist it. We really, really resist it. And a lot of initial energy can be used going into anger, can be going into resistance, going into hatred, going into, I don't want this experience. The faster, and I understand that this is not always easy, but the faster that we can come into a place of acceptance also gives us the power to be able to move forward and do what it is that we need to in response to the crisis. So not always an easy thing. And we've all heard the saying, it is what it is. But the more that we can come to a place of acceptance in that moment of, this is what's happening. Okay, what are the key things that I now need to do? Often brainstorming a list of key priorities, certainly within the first day, or if not within the first week or the first month, of things that you need to take care of, is one of the first things that you can do to actually start to get clear. And again, taking anything off your plate that is an absolute priority. Anything off your plate that isn't an absolute priority. These things are essential to free up the mental space and the emotional energy that you're going to need in order to be able to take care of whatever's happening for you. So making a list of what is absolutely essential and what is an absolute priority. A couple of other things in here is definitely reaching out to other people for support, delegating where possible, or asking for support from others, again, is absolutely crucial, and can often be, the difference between somebody really drowning within the situation and actually being able to make it through. And when I say make it through, as in not completely burn out or not completely have like a mental or nervous breakdown as a result of the situation. The other things that you definitely want to keep in mind is take essential care of the body. This should be a priority. So the key things that increase your energy or help to sustain your energy are absolutely critical as well. Hey Julie, great to have you on, honey. These things are, making sure that we're eating properly. Often when people go through a crisis or go through a big life event, eating good quality food at regular meal times or regular times is often one of the first things that goes out the window. Even if it is a smaller snack, if you feel that you can't stomach something, if you are particularly nauseous, depending on the level of crisis or the type of crisis, that can certainly be the case. However, still eating small amounts regularly can definitely sustain your blood sugar. When our blood sugar is regulated, you're also going to feel more level in your emotional state or more capable to hold, more balance within your emotional state. Getting adequate sleep. And again, I know that this can be a really big thing that's difficult, particularly in a crisis. The mind might be racing. That's where the deep breathing definitely can assist. But getting as much sleep as you possibly can, anything that supports the physical body and the physical wellness of the body. A lot of people tend to, eat like a whole bunch of sugar or chocolate or ice cream or coffee or things like that drive a lot of inflammation in the body. Or we tend to go for, takeaway foods, things like that, again, that are going to create greater fatigue, greater loss of energy, brain fog, all sorts of things within the system. So taking really, really good care of your physical body is absolutely essential. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit more about support, and I also want to talk about the long-term effects of different crises, because the body can go into definitely adrenal fatigue or an adrenal response of adrenal, hypervigilance. That's where we feel like we're unable to relax in the body. And some clients that I've worked with have literally been in that state for years and years and years. If you have been under, ongoing stress for a long period of time, and then a loved one or yourself is going through some form of crisis, often that can be kind of a tipping point for adrenal fatigue to really play out and for burnout to occur. And sometimes, people can go through these experiences and within a couple of days wake up and just be like, oh my God, I feel like I can't get out of bed. Like I'm literally not coping with the situation. And that is where, massive adrenal fatigue can really kick in. And particularly when a crisis has triggered a previous emotional event or a previous trauma. Somebody that's experienced, massive childhood trauma around abuse or around physical violence and things like that. Again, later on in life, if they're present or witness to or experience a trauma that is very similar to what they experienced as a child, often that can really, really highlight PTSD type responses and really re-trigger that same person, which brings up a lot more trauma for them. So instead of actually just dealing with that one particular crisis that they're going through that's relevant, that's in their present experience, often people, have suppressed, repressed things for years and years and years, and suddenly they find themselves coping with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of emotional stuff that's actually occurred when they were a child, but it's been re-triggered because of the crisis event. And it is really hard on the physical body when we're moving through those things as well. So this is where we can be extra gentle and kind and compassionate with self is absolutely imperative. Now, the trickiest things about going through burnout is often it activates the ego survival mind even more. So what happens is this hypervigilant state, which drives greater cortisol, which impacts our sleep at night because the cortisol is being driven up at the night time instead of melatonin, serotonin kicking in. And often then what's actually happening is that starts to interrupt the sleep cycle. So the body needs more cortisol to get through the following day, which continues this crazy cycle. And insomnia is one of the biggest things. Not only that, then starting to beat up on ourselves because we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling we can't get through our day, we're feeling we can't handle the things that we would normally handle with ease. So that might be, just even preparing a family meal or doing our normal things around the house or managing our business or our job. And suddenly all these things start to really stack, and the ego survival mind's inner critic really starts to kick in. And this is where, there can be a lot of self-berating, a lot of self-criticism. What the hell's wrong with me? Why am I, and it just creates greater and greater stress, greater and greater resistance within the body, and feeling that we really need to push ourselves at a time that's actually really critical for compassion and self-care. So all of these things are really, really important factors to take in mind. Now, a book that I read on the weekend, and I'll post the link or the photo of it below, because it is very relevant to this, is When the Body Says No. And the author has gathered so much scientific evidence to really understand what is the psychological profile of people that end up in chronic disease states. So things like cancer, things like rheumatoid arthritis, things like diabetes, heart attacks, cardiovascular disease, anything that's causing inflammation, certainly within the system, your IBS type symptoms, all of those things have a particular psychological profile that actually, so the mental and the emotional state of the person and what they believe to be true for themselves. And the biggest, joining factor with all of this is repression of feelings. This is the brave person. This is the person that's always strong. This is the person that's always there for everybody. This is the person that's overly responsible. That's the caretaker for everybody. That's always positive, always got it. And, is really, really suppressing and doesn't reach out and ask for support. What blew my mind, and I don't say this to scare you, I say this to bring awareness, what blew my mind was that for women, the chance of having breast cancer is 9 times higher for women that have a critical stress event in their life and have a minimal, a lacking of support network around them. Being able to express how we're feeling, what's going on for us, and have that level of support is absolutely critical to our well-being as human beings. And often when we've come from a traumaed environment as a child, we've often been the overly responsible one, or the one that's just been told to get on with it, or we've done that as a coping mechanism. And often from that particular place, that is where the repression, I've just got to get on with it, I've just got to keep going, I can't stop, and literally just pushing down, and eventually the body is kind enough to love us enough to say no more, and it literally stops. That's the morning you can't get out of bed, or you find yourself not functioning, where you will have had so many other signs, symptoms to let you know something's off: dizziness, lightheadedness, not feeling great, belly symptoms, like so many different things, low blood pressure. There's so many different signs and symptoms, and I am working on a quiz at the moment as well, to get out to my community and greater audiences to really understand where they're kind of currently sitting, because I really feel it's such a prevalent thing in today's world, and particularly with the amount of fear and feeling out of control that a lot of people, or uncertainty that a lot of people are experiencing. That low level chronic stress coupled with 1 or 2 crises events is absolutely massive for the nervous system, and can really spiral people very, very quickly without them really understanding actually what's going on. And a lot of people don't really understand or know about adrenal fatigue. And certainly if you go to your everyday doctor or your ordinary doctor, and again, there's no slight on doctor, they're doing the best they can. They will run their standard testing. The standard testing will not show up what's actually really going on, and it kind of leaves them with not too many places to go in terms of, further treatment, or, often there's, maybe you're depressed, maybe you're anxious, we'll try these meds for you. And it doesn't get to the root cause. Sometimes those things can be good bridges or good support. I'm not necessarily like pro all of those things, but I do know that, for some people they can be a great support, but they certainly will not support you long term in getting back to full health and well-being until that root cause are healed, are worked on, are looked at. And I highly recommend obviously working with somebody that you deeply trust, and working with somebody that's an absolute expert in this field, that knows the path that's been down down the path, perhaps even themselves. And, you know, like if that's not me, that's completely okay as well. But please reach out to somebody and make sure that you get in contact with them. If you resonate with my message, please reach out to me personally, send me a DM. Let's book in a time to have a chat, see where you're currently at, what you're experiencing, and let's see if and how I might be able to help you move forward. There's 4 critical areas that need to be healed over the long term. That's the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Spiritual is really connection to yourself and connection to life, therefore connection to others as well. And it really is about taking back control of your life, getting your energy back, reclaiming your life, but even more than just reclaiming your life, actually creating a life that you love. Burnout is often, or crises often happen because we've been living out of alignment with ourselves for such a long time that often these things really have a huge impact, obviously, on ourselves. Or it might be that your loved one is going through that experience and perhaps they've been living out of alignment with their truest self, and you know, the body eventually gives us very strong signs and symptoms to stop what we're doing, to take a look and to pay attention and to course correct so that we come back to living our most authentic and fullest life possible, being who you are fully. So I truly hope that's been helpful. If you know somebody that is really going through a huge crisis at the moment, please share this video with them, or like, love and share it to your own community if this is something that's truly served you, and if you resonate, or if you've been through this experience or you're having this experience, please reach out to me, send me a DM, let's chat, and let's get you supported. And like I mentioned before, a lot of that psychological profile was certainly for people that are repressing emotion, have not dealt with the past. And the other thing, you know, is this overly positive kind of a way of looking at things where it's actually a coping mechanism, and it keeps them blinded from how they're actually really feeling. So if you're feeling numb or you're not really sure actually how you're actually feeling, often that can be another big sign that you're actually in burnout as well. So sending you lots of love, have an amazing day, and lots of gratitude for watching and for tuning in. Bye for now.